What's going on? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. Hey, welcome to my show. We're going to talk about some Survivor. What a great episode this was. And I have to ask you before I say anything, this episode is brought to you by the Really Hood Podcast. Go check it out. Available everywhere. But I have to ask you this question. This episode certainly gave Matt the hero of all hero edits. Oh my goodness. I could just feel Survivor's editors trying to make me cry with their remote controller. It's like cry, 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 cry. I'm just like, no, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, what did you think about it, about Matt's exit? And also, would you have saved him? Answer that question for me. And be careful about how you answer. If you're in the game of Survivor, are you allowing Matt to stay? Are you voting out Yam Yam? Tell me. Sound off in the edit. In the comment section if you don't mind. Let me know right now. Let me know. Are you saving Matt? Let me hear it. Sound off. I'm listening. Okay. All right. But here's my thing. Here's my play-by-play on Matt. First off, this guy was absolutely loved. He was loved by everybody. Even the people who wanted him out admitted several times in this episode that they loved Matt and they could see themselves working with Matt throughout this season. And those are the exact reasons why Matt would have been on first class out of this game if I had anything to say about it. Nothing personal. Beautiful guy, beautiful soul, very joyful, very happy. Seems to be a good person to have around the camp. All that sounds fine and dandy. But if you're a player like me, if I'm on Survivor, I'm not playing for friendship. I'm not playing for America even. I'm playing for my family. You know what I mean? And Matt, I'm glad that Heidi said this, by the way. And Matt is or was or could have been someone who had something to say about that. Heidi admitted in this episode, like, I really like Matt, but this is a competition. And the number one rule in competition is to weaken and or eliminate your competitors. That's just competition one-on-one. So as much as I like Matt, oh my goodness, this guy would have been out of this game on a first-class seat. And, after Survivor is over at the reunion or what have you, hey, how you doing, Matt? Give him a big old hug. I still care about you, Matt. I love you, Matt. Hey, Matt, you're a good guy, Matt. Hey, Matt, you want something to drink? I'll go get it for you. But for $1 million game, Matt would have been on the first thing smoking. Listen, beautiful episode, though. Beautiful. How about all of the Survivor first? Can we just talk about that for just a second? There were so many things that happened for the first time, and I've been watching Survivor for a long time. And I hate to say this because I always feel like it's one I missed, but I feel like I've watched every single season. I know it's one I missed. I just can't find it. I keep looking and I'm like, I don't see it. Maybe I didn't miss any. But anyway, it was a lot of firsts in this season. And what did you think about them? If you don't mind sharing that in the comment section. First off, I loved the challenge. Now, we've seen several balancing challenges in the game of Survivor, but this is one of the few times where they had to hold the ball and they had to move around the shimmy on the board. So it had a few small nuances that made it feel original and new. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it. And more than that, I loved all the twists within the challenge. Hey, if you win, if you're the last person on your team, if you win immunity for the entire group. That's the first time that's ever happened. If you win sandwiches for your group. Like, it was a lot of different dynamics within this challenge that just was brand new and different and made it feel new. But as you know, there was also this thing called a controller vote. How amazing was that? The winning tribe, you thought that they would just sit on the side as the jury, but in actuality, they were able to still control the game. In a lot of ways, the winning team looked as if they were us, the viewers. We were like, we watched the game from outside the game, and a lot of times we wish we could have a say-so in the game. And it felt like Heidi and company were able to do that very thing, be us, and watch the game, but still be able to impact it. Now, I didn't frame this particular episode off of this question, but I have to ask it because it's on my mind, and I want to know if anybody agrees or disagree. But did Franny play a part in her own friends or boyfriend or even husband, who knows what this goes, but did she play a part in an alliance member's demise? Did Franny, or is Matt B's exit because of Franny? Franny won the immunity award challenge, and as such, she put Matt in the crosshairs, and also she didn't find the key, right? So it's a lot of things there that leads me to wonder, would Matt be going home had Franny not won? I'm not even sure that Matt would go home if Franny was on the winning group. Like, even if, well, who was it? Was it Danny? Even if, what if Danny won? Would Matt B had a stronger chance of surviving? I don't know. That's the big question. But without question, as much as I enjoyed seeing Matt on the screen, he had to go for the very following reasons. Super nice, very lovable, and most importantly, he had Franny on his side. They were a twosome, and I think they even would admit this. You cannot show that much attention to another tribe mate because by default you'll be perceived as someone who has 2 votes rather than 1. And this game is all about information and it's all about numbers. So when you have a couple that is as strong as those two, it's 2 on 1 in every scenario. Heidi pointed that out. Like, hey, this is my competition, and not only is he likable, but he has a even more likable friend. Yeah, cool. I want to know. I have to know this. If you are someone who is going to keep Matt in this game, you have to break it down for me. Help me understand, because if I'm looking at things from that perspective, which I often try to do, I try to look at things from multiple perspectives because my perspective is not the only way to see things. So if I am pro Matt and keeping Matt in the game, then I have to be somebody that's working alongside both Matt and Franny. If I'm in that seat, then I completely understand. Okay, I'm working with both of these people. Why would I want Matt out of the game? That is the only angle that makes sense to me. Outside of that, if you're saying I like Matt's personality, that's why I wanted Matt to stay in the game. I guess you like Matt's personality more than you like $1 million. And if that is true, I digress. Anyway, it's a small recap. This is a small recap. Matt realizes that he actually has the fake idol. And he connects the dots about Danny. What did you think about that? We saw that Matt finally realized, to come to the realization that Danny played him, and that in actuality, he did not find a real idol. Though there was still a pinch of hope in Matt's eyes that maybe he had found the real idol, but he was so sure about the fact that it was fake that he showed Brandon and company. All right, Danny leads the charge to get Lauren out. What's going on with Danny? Danny has had the greatest arc swing for me in a long time. I started off rooting for Danny, but it started off with him going through Jamie's bag. When he did that, I was done with Danny. And now that he's gunning for Lauren, which is fair game. It's fair game. And Lauren is not someone who I am particularly rooting for. It's just the way that he does things. Even just talking with Brandon in front of Carolyn, he just has a great disrespect or disregard for things he doesn't like or doesn't care for. If he doesn't care for you, he'll go through your bag. If he doesn't care for you, he'll talk game right in front of you. If he doesn't care, he just has this switch. Like, if I like you, I'm 100% for you. If I dislike you, I'll kick you in the leg while you're looking at me. Like, that's just Danny's game, in my opinion. Now, I do want to ask this question. The big question here is, why do people disclose their advantages? Can somebody help me understand that? This trend started and it just hasn't stopped yet. I'm wondering if future Survivor players are going to watch this season and say, oh, yeah, that's why we don't tell about our advantages. If I feel like we know this, we know how this ends, yet we keep seeing people disclose their advantages. Lauren disclosing the fact that she has 2 votes almost got her kicked out of the game, right? Matt disclosing that he had an idol. Josh disclosing that he had idols and fake idols. Too much disclosure is happening with these advantages, and it's causing, and I think the first time I saw advantages become such a threat like this was in the season, I want to say China, when James had 2 idols. This is when advantages were few and far between. And I believe that James was one of the few players, or the first players to have multiples. Like, he had a Survivor riches at his disposal, and he was telling people about it as if he was safe just because he had it. But I'm starting to see, and I'm starting to realize that it's driving me crazy that these players are telling so much about their advantages. And, like I said, Lauren could have went home because of what everybody knows about what she has. But anyway, the immunity challenge had many twists. Winning team was pretty cool. They was well off. They got a chance to eat. They were all safe. And also, I like the dynamic of the losing team's sole survivor having immunity as well. And as you probably know, if you watched it, this boiled down to Brandon and Franny won. And I have to just put it out there. Franny is so much stronger than people realize. I said this last week in my last recap, episode 6. I told you that when I saw her jump up that wall and grab the net in one leap, I said, listen, this is not your everyday Dungeons and Dragons player. Like, Franny is an athletic marvel. And even Danny, who is rippled with muscles from the top of his head to the soles of his feet, he's full of muscles. Even he is saying Franny is a monster. Even Brandon, an NFL player, a player who is, so athletic that he's able to hold his own on a field of monsters, of muscle monsters. Even he lost. He didn't say anything. He lost to Franny. Franny is a athletic marvel, despite the fact that she seems to be of slim build and she seems to be pretty dorky. I'm sorry for the expression. She is impressive, athletically speaking. Okay, but anyway, she's extremely underrated. Not only is she so athletic, but she's also a social marvel. She speaks well. She talks with people. She gets along with just about everybody. And not only that, she had Matt on her side. Like, I feel like Franny is going to be a casualty in this game soon, and it's because people will start to realize just how strong she is, because I don't think that is her last winning performance for individual immunity. How did you like the new dynamics? I already asked this question, but I'll ask again. It was just so many cool dynamics within this immunity award challenge. I just enjoyed it. Anyway, the winners were able to go off and eat, and there was a letter that pretty much spoiled the party, and everybody found it hard to eat, especially Kane, who had the bubble guts after he ate. But it made it very uncomfortable because they knew that after enjoying this feast, of course, Survivor wouldn't just let you eat a meal in peace. But after they enjoyed this feast, they had to now read this letter that could change the game entirely. And I'll be honest with you. I thought, now I'll ask you first, what did you think the letter consisted of? What do you think was going to be on the letter? For me, I thought that they were going to have to take somebody amongst the winning group and put them in danger and have them actually go to tribal council that night. I thought that was the angle that they were going to utilize, but I think what they chose to do was even better. They said that there was a new advantage inside the cage and that there were keys littered throughout the forest, which was amazing. I love this layout. And whoever found the key had to open the cage and then read their letter in private. I loved it because it was no longer who can get there in secret and be quiet about it. It was out in the open, so everybody went on a mad dash trying to find this key. And of course, your girl Heidi won. Now I just got to say this. I want to just take a moment to remind you of my two picks to win this season. Okay, every time I do one of these Big Brother Survivor things, I always pick my two winners, possible winners. Number one for me is Carson, and my number one pick is still in the game. Number two for me is Heidi, and my number two pick is still in the game. So that tells me I've watched this enough to understand how this all unfolds. But anyway, that happens. Anyway, so Heidi starts to do the math and starts to figure out after she wins, she reads her letter in private and realizes that she can control the vote. Now, I'm one who knew that she would pick Lauren because Lauren has 2 votes. But we find out that might have been a mistake later on in the episode. But anyway, she's starting to listen to everybody, and she's starting to come to the realization that everybody wants to save Matt. People love Matt. Danny is asking for Matt's safety. Franny is asking for Matt's safety. So she starts to put 2 and 2 together. And this is why I'm so happy I picked Heidi, because she could have just said, okay, well, let's save Matt. And ultimately, she does do that. She does do something in favor of saving Matt, which I thought was smart in and of itself. However, she still pushed back on it, which I'm happy she did, because she starts to realize that if I save Matt, it will make people happy, but it will, become competition for myself. So it was good just to see her think as an individual for her family, because that's what this is all about when it's all said and done. But anyway, we get to tribal council, and it becomes very open knowledge that Ratu is going to stay together and that Yam Yam and Matt are on the chopping block. I thought Yam Yam was certainly, in trouble, but I didn't think that he would go home for whatever reason. I thought that it might be Matt B or some weird way be Lauren. Some weird dynamic. But I didn't think Yam Yam was in trouble. I looked at the editing, and the editing didn't tell me that they knew that Yam Yam was in trouble. They didn't really focus on Yam Yam like they have done in the past. It was funny because I saw a lot of clips or a lot of shots of Matt, and he was always in a way, like in terms of his posture, it was like a hero edit. I said that earlier. It's like they knew he was going to go home, so they gave him certain angles, certain talking points, and that's when I knew like Matt could be in trouble. I wasn't 100% sure. But anyway, Heidi decides to affect Lauren's vote, and Lauren asks the very pivotal question, hey, Jeff, does this advantage affect both of my votes or just one? And of course, Jeff says only one of your votes will be controlled. It turns out that it really didn't matter. I want to say for sure, I'm not exactly sure, but I want to say for sure that Lauren did not use her second vote. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. But I didn't see her use 2 votes, okay? But I saw her vote for Yam Yam once, and I want to say I confirmed that when I watched the after, when they, when the votes is already read out and they show who voted for who. Matt got 3 organic votes, and I don't believe 2 or 1 came from Lauren. I think Lauren did not use her second vote. Please let me know if I'm wrong about that. But we see Matt go home. And man, it was very emotional for the people who really wanted to see Matt win, I'm sure. For me, it was like, hey, man, it's a game. It's competition. And if I'm in the game, you're going home as well. I'm not even afraid of Matt. Matt is not the problem for me. So Matt would have gone home out of collateral damage. Matt would have gone home because of the person I truly was or would have been afraid of. And that's Franny. Franny is terrifying, okay? Matt, too nice, sweet guy. And even he was captivated by Franny, who's the real threat in my personal opinion. So it really makes me wonder what happens as we move into episode 8. I think players that are on the chopping block right now will be Danny. I think Danny is ruffling a lot of feathers. And I believe that Lauren knows about Danny's plot. And speaking of Lauren, I think Lauren is now on the chopping block. You know, this game is really weird. I think you can always feel when a player's time has come. And I think in this situation, Danny's time is about come. I don't think Danny wins this season whatsoever. I would be willing to bet all that I have on the fact that Danny can't win this season. I would be willing to do that. I think that Lauren is on the chopping block. The fact that she has those 2 votes and Danny is, spewing her name so much, her name is becoming more and more and more prevalent. It's starting to attach a little more than it did before. And I think Franny could be in trouble. I think the fact that Franny potentially being someone who will have a vengeance for the fact that Matt was kicked out the way that he was. I believe that Franny could also be on the chopping block. So those are my 3 picks for players who could be in trouble moving forward. What do you think? Who is the next to go? And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, I'll bite my tongue. Why do I always bite my tongue right here? Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, show your man some love with a like in the comment or a subscription. And I'll see you next week. All right. Be safe.